Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Um, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that the rubber match between Canelo and Golovkin ended with a pretty easy win for Canelo. I watched it live. I had it 8-4 in rounds, 116, 112 to Canelo. I actually gave Canelo the first 8 rounds and then Golovkin the last 4. But now the dust has settled. I've got to say I'm really, really disappointed in Golovkin. Really disappointed because let's break this down a little bit. You know, the guy's legacy and the guy's whole career, in a sense, was on the line against Canelo. This is a guy Canelo, who Golovkin thinks he beat twice. And you can make a case for him having beaten him twice. I thought both those fights, those first 2 fights, were very close. I don't consider either of them a robbery. I think I made one a draw and one a slight win for Canelo, but, you know, it could have gone either way. So the only person who's on paper defeated him was Canelo. So you're 40 years of age, you're getting paid a ton of money, you're going in there into the lion's den inevitably because everything goes Canelo's way in terms of negotiation. He is the cash cow. And this is your chance to absolutely nail your name to middleweight history. And even if you give your all and you go out on your shield, you know, people can at least say, well, you know, Golovkin, you know, in that third fight, he was 40, but he gave Canelo a hell of a fight, you know, and yeah, okay, he ran out of gas. Maybe that was his age. He got stopped, blah, 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 blah. But the thing was, he gave it his all. And, you know, Golovkin was, and it was up at super middleweight. That's not really Golovkin's weight. So it's his first fight at super middleweight. You know, all this stuff would have been taken into account if Golovkin had gone for it. If he'd have let his hands go, if he'd have tried to win what was a career-defining fight. But he didn't. He didn't do that. He barely threw any punches. I mean, it was so safety first. It was almost like he lacked confidence, or maybe he was just there for the payday, or maybe he realised he was 40 and he couldn't do the whole 12 rounds at full pelt, so he was saving it for a grandstand finish, which, you know, he tried to do. But if he'd fought with the same verve, the same determination, if he'd let his hands go, if he'd at least pumped the jab. I mean, I know it's easier said than done. I know that. I know it. And I know you've got a formidable foe in front of you. But, you know, we're talking about Golovkin. Some people talk about Golovkin as being one of the greatest middleweights ever. To me, you know, can you imagine even a 40-year-old, I don't know, well, name me a great middleweight, Monzon, Hagler. Can you imagine them doing that? You know, just turning up and not really doing anything for 8 rounds, allowing someone to dominate, allowing them to dominate you. I said in my preview, you know, that Golovkin, the key to Golovkin winning is the jab. He barely threw any jabs, like for the first however many rounds. Some people say that he won the 6th. I gave that to Canelo even. I did give the last 4 rounds to Golovkin, although 1 or 2 of those were, again, you could have given them to Canelo. And he did let his hands go. And, you know, there has always been a slight question mark, just a slight one, over Canelo's stamina. So you would think, you know, draw his sting early, come on strong. Yeah, you've got to walk through fire. You've got to get down in the trenches. You know, your heart's going to be in your mouth. You know, all the energy is going to be zapped out of you. But this is for all the marbles. This is, again, a career-defining fight. And Golovkin didn't really do anything for me. It was very disappointing. You know, the guy's as tough as nails. He's got this concrete jaw. I expect him to come out, dominate, pump the jab, you know, even if he's missing with the jab, go to the chest, jab to the gloves, jab to anything. Just keep Canelo busy. Make him fight at a pace that he doesn't like. Even if you don't like it, that's the gamble. Draw him into those deep waters. Make him fight at a pace that maybe you don't like, but he certainly doesn't like. And then it becomes a case of who wants it more, you know. And then, you know, Canelo, obviously, I was surprised Canelo didn't work the body much. But Golovkin, you know, hey, you've got a body too. I'm going to that. Golovkin's a wicked body. He can be a wicked body puncher when he gets up close. In other words, make the guy, if you're going to lose, you make the guy totally earn his win. What you don't do is give away 2/3 of the fight, and then in the hope that you can come on strong, and maybe, you probably won't win because Canelo's got a concrete jaw too. So, but you can at least say, well, in the last third of the fight, I let my hands go, and it wasn't meant to be, but at least I made it respectable. No, I've heard people say, oh yeah, well, at least Canelo couldn't get rid of a 40-year-old man. Golovkin survived the distance. So what? So what? Sometimes it's not losing, it's the manner in which you lose. And I was very, very disappointed with Golovkin. And I'm a massive fan of Golovkin. In terms of Canelo, to be honest with you, this I don't know whether this is accurate. I don't know whether, maybe I'm reading something in that ain't there. But I thought Canelo himself looked a bit jaded in terms of, punch output. Is he on the downside of his career now? He's 32. He turned pro at 15, don't forget. That's a long career. I thought he looked a little bit sort of jaded himself in terms of, certainly in terms of stamina. I don't think his stamina looked good. We saw this against Bivol and we thought, well, he's up at light heavy. But down at super middleweight, he didn't look like the formidable foe that he had done or has done in the past. And I think maybe he's on the wrong side of his career now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's shot. Golovkin isn't shot either. It's not a question of that. It's a case of, Canelo, I don't think he would win a Bivol rematch. He'll take it because he's a proud guy and he wants that win. I would go for other options myself. But he's getting to the point now where they've got to be big fights for him to get up for. He's made so much money. He's had a great career, obviously, all those achievements. But I just got the feeling that something's sort of gone out of him. In the Bivol fight and in this fight, with the benefit of hindsight, of course, with Bivol, I did think, even though Bivol's a small light heavy, I thought, well, maybe the size, maybe it was just a division too far. But thinking back and looking at this Golovkin fight, it did seem to me that Canelo isn't quite as sharp, isn't quite as ruthless, as spiteful as he was in the past. To be honest with you, he looked a little bit cautious of Golovkin early on, just a little bit. But he was, after a couple of rounds, he was starting to throw some meaty single punches. No real 2s or 3s. The occasional 1-2, but not really big combinations. But Golovkin was in defensive mode, and inexplicably in defensive mode. So the fight itself for me was an anticlimax. Normally, if you have a trilogy, the third fight can often be the best one. The obvious example being Ali versus Frazier, and their first fight was a great fight, but the third one was just one of the greatest heavyweight fights ever. With this, disappointment really. And Golovkin, all right, he said, hey, I'm going to go back down to middleweight now. Okay, fair enough. You might become unified champ, but this was an opportunity missed, because if you'd gone out on your shield, if you'd given everything, you would have actually added to your legacy. Even in defeat, you'd have added to your legacy. You're up against someone in a division that isn't your natural division. You're 40 years of age. The guy's so much younger. But all that stuff would have been taken into account. But no, you kind of blew it, mate. And as for Canelo, it'll be interesting to see how much he's got left. I think the tank is. It's not empty, but it's getting a little bit low now. So how many fights has he got left at this level, or at the highest level? Talks of putting him in with Beterbiev. I know Beterbiev's. Late 30s now, isn't he? And he struggled. He looks like he struggles to make the weight. If Beterbiev made the weight comfortably and you stuck him in with Canelo, I think he'd beat the shit out of Canelo. But I could be wrong. Mate. It's all conjecture in it. But yeah, what do you think? Were you disappointed in Golovkin, or what do you think of Canelo? What do you think he's got left? Leave your comments below. Always interested to hear them and read them. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the like button. Double jab. It makes sense. Keep punching. We've got some great boxing coming up. I'll be back. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.